Happy Foundation Day. This day, which we always called in the convent the glorious 3rd of May, is so dear to our hearts. We talk about this story of the foundation from Georgetown to Kaskaskia to St. Louis as if it was ourselves who had made this journey. We did this, we did that. However, the real credit goes to the first 8 sisters who made this journey from Georgetown to St. Louis, remotely to Kaskaskia, and the courage that they showed. I just, in preparation for this little talk, I reread the postulant, Sister Josephine Barber's 45-page journal of this journey. And I am so grateful to her, young as she was, for chronicling this for us and for all future generations. There were 8 sisters. They were led by Mother Mary Agnes Brent, who was in her early 30s. All the sisters were young, of course, because this was quite an adventure to go from the established East to the wild, wild West. And so they were young and ready for an adventure. Now, they had been told in Georgetown that the house and the town were all prepared for them. Why, Kaskaskia had been a town of 7,000 inhabitants and a flourishing city. That's the story that was told at Georgetown. And added to that was that the parish priest had a house, was going to vacate his house, and they were going to be right next to the church, and they would have a lovely beginning for their convent and school. Well, little did they know. First of all, when they came, they were not met by any of the officials or the Archbishop or anyone who might have been expected, because the cholera was raging. That was an added problem. And so the gentleman who accompanied the sisters, whose name was Mr. Queen, he went on ahead to see what really was there for the sisters. And he came back, and remember, they were expecting this pleasant place with a house prepared for them, and they were set to begin school the next day. And here, one paragraph from those 45 pages of Sister Josephine, he comes back and he says, oh, he contradicted all our expectations. He described Kaskaskia as a poor, miserable, out-of-the-way place. So the sisters were quite discouraged and wanted to go back. Had it not been for Mother Agnes and Sister Gonzaga, undoubtedly, they would have gone right back up to Georgetown. Sisters Helen, Isabella, and Rose wept much. But Mother Agnes and Sister Gonzaga remained steadfast. So due to the courage of those two and the others' willingness to go along with it, they sat on their luggage on flatboats, and which sank into the river so that anything could crawl up on their habits as they went. And they were ferried across to this dilapidated, miserable, out-of-the-way place that had only one really nice house in it that belonged to Captain Morrison, who became one of the 2, with Colonel Menard and their families, one of the 2 great benefactors of these intrepid sisters. And I just have 2 little other places from this document Really, it reads like a serial novel. There is one adventure after another, and they just tuck up their habits. Remember, they're in their long habits, and they just move ahead with courage and grit and resilience. And so I thought this was very interesting. Um, about 8 o'clock, Mr. Queen departed for Kaskaskia to announce our arrival, and he returned after dinner saying nothing at all had been done. The inhabitants were not expecting us, although sometime previous Bishop Rosati had mentioned his intention that there would be a convent and boarding school there. So when they got across the river and the carpet of green caterpillars that you'll hear more about, the sisters expressed their astonishment. It almost exceeded credibility. 3 vehicles awaited them. They were the Kaskaskia stagecoaches, but they looked like ordinary milk wagons. So this was totally beyond their expectations. And little did they know that after they moved in and started the school in a situation in which each sister had only one chair, and she moved that chair from the chapel to the classroom to the refectory where they ate their meals. And they just always improvised whatever was needed and met that expectation. So I think that as we reflect this particular year about this glorious story of the foundation, which is so dear to the sisters' hearts, I would like to say that there are many parallels. This past year that we have endured with the rest of the world, but we here at Visitation have experienced, has certainly been in the tradition of these intrepid first 8 sisters who rose to the occasion, met it, and carried on. And so I would like to dedicate this year's celebration to our faculty and staff and administration and our parents and the board and all of us sisters quarantined here at Catherine's residence. I would like to dedicate it to the fact that we carry on this glorious tradition of courage and hope. And it struck me this morning when I was praying that the responsorial psalm for today, which is not the 3rd of May, but so appropriate, says exactly the way I would like to end my little story. And it is, "The favors of the Lord I will sing forever. Through all generations, my mouth shall proclaim his faithfulness. For God has said, my kindness is established forever." So we thank God for his kindness.
I'm going to tell you some of the ways that we have celebrated this day. And there are 2 particular joys that we have done together all throughout the years, at least that I know about. And the first one is, Sister Marie-Therese referred to Josephine Barber, who wrote the Chronicle along all the times that we were coming to St. Louis. And Josephine Barber was also the last sister of that original foundation to die. I think it was in 1885 or 6. She also wrote a song. And the song had 2 lines in it that were quite interesting. One of the things was, originally it said, and we have the copy, "and one of the band is here," Well, of course, eventually we had to say, and none of the band is here. But also in it, it says, hers would have said something like 150 years have now gone away. Well, we have to say real fast, 188 years have now passed away to get it in the right timing. But we usually sing this song for the 3rd of May because it tells the story in another way. Now, the other special thing that we have for this day is something that St. Francis de Sales said to some sisters who were going on a foundation. They were leaving Annecy and they were going to another town to start another monastery. And we have his sermon, and he says, I'm sending you off like the apostles. Of course, you can't be apostles because you're women, but you are going to bring life to people, and life that is abundant. And he's quoting the Gospel of St. John, where Jesus says, I came to bring life and bring it more abundantly. So that was Francis's kind of send-off to these sisters that were making the foundation. And it's a lovely thing to think about as we celebrate each year. We are here, hopefully, to bring life to people and to bring life that is so important and that gives people abundant life. And that's our mission, said in a different way. At the end of that song, the refrain goes, the past, the past, the past on its golden wings. Well, we have come through almost 2 centuries on the golden wings that the people around us have carried us through, and that God and the whole visitation has carried us through. So I'm happy you're celebrating with us.